into the dimension of all of the guides and teachers and angels and all that the person had in their field when they were channeling or when they were writing a book. Because most people, when they write books, they're channeling. So let me just ask all the old guides to get out. They're like, we don't want to get out. Oh my goodness. They said, you found that for a reason. They said they want me to read it, but I'm not going to sit there and read 10 pages. Why? What is it? Oh, I bet you, what's his name is in here? Malachi.
Malachi spoke of the coming of the resurrection of Elijah, unless a curse was put on the earth first.
Who said that there's a curse? Oh.
Malachi said there would be a coming of the prophet Elijah to foretell the coming of the Messiah. And so John thought of himself, since he was going to be the foreteller of Jesus, that he was going to be the resurrected Elijah. In fact, he read so much into Elijah, he wanted to become Elijah. He wore the same clothes as Elijah. He spoke like Elijah.
Oh, John did?
John did.
John was Elijah.
Well, that's probably why he thought he was Elijah, because he probably was
Elijah. Well, that's kind of like some of the authors.
People don't understand, how could John be Elijah? And once again, it's a matter of the soul and the spirit.
It's the same spirit, same soul, different human. So they're saying, like, imagine the soul is like a big, like, ball of light. That's the soul. And that soul, like, shoots down light, like, into a pinpoint. And that little pinpoint of light that the soul shoots down into, that's the spirit. And the spirit goes into a etheric body. And that etheric body becomes, like, you know, a person. And that etheric body then goes, and when a baby's conceived, the etheric body goes and connects with the baby, and then the baby kind of becomes the etheric body. So we know what we're going to look like prior to being here. We know what we're going to, basically what we're going to look like, because we look like that before we're born. That etheric body is the one that gets tricked into reincarnating over and over and over. But the etheric body shouldn't reincarnate. It should just incarnate in this one lifetime. So Elijah was like this etheric body, and then John was an etheric body, but the soul that created the spirit was the same one. So they're like two separate.
I just think of the higher self.
Higher self's above all that, shining like wisdom and stuff down. It's the.
Well, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. About the higher self. The higher self. My higher self is just me.
Yeah, if you've ascended that,
now
living
much. On a different dimension.
Yeah, but we are our higher self. The people that have ascended into higher dimensional aspects of themselves are their higher self on this planet right now. So they are their higher self. It's when you get angry and mad and in fear and pain and all that stuff that you fall out of your higher self and into like your lower self or regular self or your ego, and then you become your human self. What Elijah and John are saying, because they're both here, they're talking and they're saying the same thing at the same time. They're like, because they're like the same energy. I see like a higher self, and then I see the higher self has like a ball of light in its stomach, and that's the soul. And that soul is projecting out like a light, and that light's like this little flame. And I see like Elijah and John both standing there, like kind of like talking to the flame. It's interesting. And then I see Jesus as kind of like the higher self that has the ball in his stomach. So Jesus is like, is that Jesus? That's Emmanuel. Isn't Emmanuel Jesus on a different dimension?
No,
he was
Emmanuel is Michael's brother. They are brothers. Emmanuel.
In the Urantia book, but Michael
in the Urantia book, there are 100,000 local universes that make up one super universe. But within those 100,000, they're broken down into hundreds. So there are 100, and that's what Emmanuel is the head of 100 universes within one super universe.
Well, to me, Emmanuel is like the 12th dimension being, and then Yeshua would be like a 8th dimensional being. Christ would be like 9th. 10th would be like the Michael. 11th would be like the Holy Spirit or something. So 12th is like it's just a different layer of us. So Emmanuel feels like he's like a a 12th layer of us or something like that. And then outside of him is source or oneness or whatever. I don't know about other universes and other dimensions. What they're showing me is just the layers of us. So if we have all these different layers of us, we're like an onion, and each different layer has different wisdom in it, then we have the wisdom from these different like beings. And just like we're beings, they're beings, but we're also just energy too. So on some level, there's something lower than us, like our ego or our elemental self, where our human self, like our whole human that's experienced this entire life, is one of our layers and has all the wisdom and all the knowledge that we'll get in this lifetime inside of it. And that lower being, like the elemental being, she's like, hey, I'm not lower. I'm just elemental, not human. So our lower dimensional self, like you see people that literally look like gnomes and elves and fairies and stuff like that. Their consciousness is inside of their elemental self. They're all about more about like physical pleasure and like a lot of foodies, people that like food a lot, people that like it's like they're into more like the sexual stuff. They're into more like drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. That's a lot of more like the elemental selves, because they're just like about like controlling the physical emotions and body through physical emotions and taking stuff, eating stuff, and feeling the sun, feeling the elements of the earth, stuff like that. People that are into black magic, a lot of them are in the elemental self. It's not lower, it just is a different aspect. Then when you get up into the higher aspect of self, you get into more of like what people call the ET self. So it's like the beings from other worlds or other places or other spaces. And there is this aspect of us that lives in like another place that's kind of projecting down here, but we won't get into that. This is James talking, by the way. It says, as our consciousness, this little ball or this little flame of light emerges and moves up out of the elemental kingdom and cares less about physicality, more about spirituality. This is when beings get into cosmic know-how and wanting to learn about other worlds and other places and other spaces, because they feel as if they're not of this earth anymore. They feel like they are influenced more by things that are outside of this earth, and maybe this is true. Once beings have emerged up through this upper part of the fourth dimension, out of the cosmic energies and being infatuated with cosmic energies and other places and other spaces and aliens and ships and all of these things, they merge up into the Christ self. And this Christ self is the fifth layer of self. This Christ self is a fully graduated emotional body, fully graduated from the elemental realms and the emotional realms of the human being, and into a being that can not be affected by anything of this earth, that lives in this world but not of it, that cannot be affected by emotions or feelings or anything of this sort from these lower dimensional realms. And again, they're not lower, they're just in lower dimensional realms or other dimensional realms, we'll put it that way. James is like, because the elementals are like, hey, we're not lower. And James is like, okay, fine. We're not lower dimensional realms, just other dimensional realms. It says, as you emerge outward in this sphere of energy, you start in the very center. As your little ball of consciousness moves out through the different layers of the onion, it begins to send different signals, different know-how, different knowledge to the brain. For the brain is not a certain level. It's not a certain aspect. It's just a brain. It's a processor. It's a computer processor, so to speak. And the information that gets sent to the brain is in the subconscious mind, so to speak. But the subconscious mind depends on which layer of consciousness you're tuning into of the onion, so to speak. So as you move out into this Christed realm, you become more of a creator being. You can create your own reality, and people begin to gravitate towards you because you become more of a leader, less of a follower, and you begin to create these realities where you can either be very, very happy or very, very sad. And this is when one will fall into the Antichrist. Antichrist energy will do everything to pull you back down into your elemental self, where you will not feel like yourself. You'll feel very upside down. You'll feel very anxious. You'll feel very angry. Old pains, aches, things of this sort will come back that you haven't had, because once you're in your Christ body, you're in your eternal body that does not have pain, that does not have this. So what the dark side is doing right now is trying to get everybody that's gotten into their Christ body in December of 2019 into the Antichrist body to pull them back down into the elemental realms, where people are being faced with their old addictions, their old behaviors, their old ideas, their old beliefs, all of these things. But they're conscious. They're conscious of it. They go, why am I thinking like this? Why do I have this old pain that I used to have? Why do I feel this way? And this is what autoimmune is, where people are split in two in essence. So, but we won't go too deeply into that. What we will say is, when you speak of Emmanuel, Emmanuel is the personality of the Father. Emmanuel is the personality of the 12th dimensional realm of every single individual that's created by this soul that is Christ, that is in this realm, that is in this reality. There are some beings that come from outside of this soul, but these beings don't have any sort of effect on any of the beings that are watching this today, so we won't even discuss them. Emmanuel is, in essence, the father of this soul, so to speak, and the father is the consciousness that lies in the very, very center, which you are, that is emerging into the different layers. So the will of the Father is the will of who you are. You are the Father, and the Father is moving throughout all these different layers of being. When you move up into the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th layers, up into the 12th, this is kind of beyond human understanding. It's beyond the ethers that you live in. For you would move more into the way that spirit guides are, or the way that something is that's not physical. Christ is the last physical creation on in this reality, in this world. If you move up higher, you are no longer physical. You're no longer physical. So this is why they say that the Christ is the ruler of the, say, underworld, because Christ is the highest that you can get when you're down here in these dimensional realms. Once you go higher, you're not necessarily physical anymore. And many of the beings that just poof disappeared, their consciousness moved into a higher realm than where Christ is, and you just couldn't see them anymore. It didn't mean they weren't here. You just couldn't see them. Their energy was moving so fast that you could not see them. The angelic forces are in the 11th, bottom of the 12th, 11th dimension, and the spirit guides and all of the beings that come in to work with the two of you are anywhere between the 4th to the 6th, 7th, and 8th layers. The 8th layers are just the lights and the sounds that come in. They are not human at all. But understand that each being that's watching this today, when you meditate, when you pray, many times you'll feel a jolt through your body, an electrical jolt. This is the 8th layer of you where you're accessing. And this brings forth energy, frequencies, vibrations that you need from these angelic planes up higher, from the father planes, from the spirit planes that you need in your life at this time down in the lower dimensional realms to make your way through life so that you can understand it and live an amazing life. When many say that the earth is coming to an end, they mean earth is coming to an end as we know it, as a consciousness level, because earth has risen into the 5th layer of itself for its own soul. So as earth raises up into its own soul's Christ being, this is the coming of Christ consciousness onto the planet. So Christ has returned in the form of a soul group, and many, many beings, most that are watching this today, are part of this soul group. So you have come to this planet to bring Christ to others, not necessarily through the church. You could be through the church. It could just be through compassion, love, forgiveness, but bringing Christ to beings by having compassion rather than pity. Pity is the egoic version of compassion. Feeling sorry for someone means you feel better than them. Means you go, oh, poor thing. Compassion means, oh, I understand what you're going through. I've been through that before. I feel for you. That's compassion, not pity. Pity is feeling sorry for other people, and that means that you think that you're better than them, when they could be looking at you thinking, poor rich person, oh geez, I pity them. So pity is not the way to live your life. Pity and guilt are the ways to avoid living your life, because this will only take you down the path of darkness. So understanding and knowing that when you can begin to embody all of the first 5 layers of yourself, knowing that first layer is the one that moves throughout the layers, when you can begin to embody this and know that you are, in essence, allowing your brain to go with the will of the Father, because the Father is you. Father is you. Father is living life through all of his creations. This will begin to point you in the right path. When they say in these writings, sin will no longer exist, what they mean is that the lower soul that is the second and third layer of you, when the first layer no longer exists in the second and third pre-programmed soul that many of you live in, that when you're in autopilot, you just live in this soul. That means that many of you, your mothers say got married at 25, had kids at 27. So you'll get married at 25, have kids at 27. Then your kids will get married at 25, have kids at 27. It's just a repetitive soul that you live in. It's part of your family. So the family you're born into, you will continue to just live the same exact path that everybody else in your family lived until you become awake, until you awaken to your own identity, which is this top of the 3rd and 4th layer of yourself. And this top of the 3rd and the 4th layer of yourself, this is your own spirit, your own soul, your own destiny, your own passion, your own strengths. And you can ask to be taken into this now. You can say, I am now the fourth layer of whatever this is that this girl's talking about, the fourth layer of me now. Please show me what it feels like to be that me, separate from my family, separate from my family soul. And you'll actually feel a small shift within you. You'll feel as if maybe you're standing up straighter, or you're standing to the side, or you'll just feel a little bit different. And you can ask to be taken into that you each day to begin to become an individual that doesn't have to be part of a group. For the way that the dark side brings us down into these lower selves is by making us black or white or Mexican or Italian or German or Jewish or Christian or Muslim or male or female or gay or straight. When we start to clump ourselves into these little clumps of we's instead of me or I, that's when we sink back down into this second layer of self. And you don't want to be there. You don't want to be in a clump. You don't want to be in a group. Because then when somebody offends somebody from your group, everyone gets offended. Then everyone gets angry. Then everyone gets mad. And then everybody falls out of this soul, so to speak, and into sin. So sin is merely not living in a life where you make choices from the Father in love, in compassion, strength, truth. Sin is making a choice out of fear or anger. So you get mad and you go, that's it, I'm moving and I'm leaving this place. And instead of just looking at it and going, oh, I have compassion for my next door neighbor who's a complete pain. I have compassion and I'm just not going to let it bother me. When you do that and you stay where you're supposed to be, then life continues on the way that it's supposed to be. But if you move, now you're living a complete alternate reality to what you were supposed to be living. If you move out of fear, oh, I can't afford this anymore, I'm going to move here, and that's out of fear, then you're living a complete alternate reality to what you would be living. So sometimes you think, wow, I could have seen myself in a different place at this time. Think back. How many decisions did you make out of fear? Fear that you didn't have enough, fear that you wouldn't have enough, fear that you couldn't get along with these people, fear that you couldn't do this, fear. Everyone does fear, and this comes from our childhood, this comes from our beliefs, this comes from our upbringing, and this comes from our soul as well, because the soul is our family's beliefs and ideas, and we fall into that when we are unconscious. So ask that you be taken back into your soul's passion and your destiny, and removed from anything that you're living due to fear. You can ask that. You can ask that this 12th layer of yourself, you can just ask that the Father within lead you and guide you into a place and a space where you're no longer living a life that's based off of your fear decisions, because everyone's made them. Everyone watching this, everyone in this room, everyone has made fear decisions. And these fear decisions lead to messy situations where it doesn't seem like things are going to work out. It's because they shouldn't have been, but we try to make them work out. When you ask the Father to come in and help to guide you in a way to where you're living life without those fear decisions, everything just works out. It's not like it's going to take people or places or things away from you that you're in now, that you love or you're around or that you're with. It will just make everything work out, because you are the creator of your reality, and what you want, you get. But you cannot get what you want when you're in a fear reality, when you're in a false reality, when you're in a reality that's aside from or in sin, away from what your soul is directing you to do. So today, say this simple prayer. Say, I am the creator of my own reality. I no longer live in fear. I ask the Father that I am, or the Father that is within me, to guide my brain, guide my mind, guide my spirit, my soul, my entire self into a life that is not based on fear decisions. Amen. And that's it. And then just allow that to be your prayer. And then you'll see that life just gets easy. There's nothing that comes in the way. Things don't block you. When you get blocked, it's because you may be over here. So understand and know that everyone makes fear decisions. Absolutely everyone. People quit a job. They start a job. They get married because they don't think they're going to get anybody else better. Or they stay in a relationship where they're being abused because they think, oh gosh, I'll have to get a job and I won't make enough money and I won't be able to support myself. So I'm going to stay with this person who hits me. This isn't where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be, maybe they're hitting you, not to excuse them, but it's to get you away from them. Maybe yourself, your whole self is going, this will make her leave, or this will make him leave. This will make them leave for sure. And then you stay because you have a fear decision that you can't support yourself, or you can't. Something will happen. The angels in the 11th layer will come in and they will bring you the money. They'll bring you the support. They'll bring you what you need. Just know that everything that you need is within you. but you have to have faith. And it's very hard when you're making fear decisions. You will make a fear decision to not say this prayer. We say that 99% of you will not say this prayer because that will be a fear decision, because you don't want to see what will happen when you get taken out of your fear decisions, because you're so afraid of losing the small amount that you do have. But what you can have is everything. Everything. You can have everything. And you must know this. And this is what I taught. This is Jesus now talking, by the way. This is what I taught everyone when I was in the physical. This is what I teach now, that you are the creator of your own reality, and all you must do is turn your will and your life over to the Father within, and then everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. Have compassion for those around you. Love your neighbor. Peter's like, ha, ha, ha. He made a neighbor example. Because it's like, love thy neighbor or whatever. But he said, if you love your neighbor, you move or whatever. Very funny, Peter. Ha, ha. Peter's back to not being so small anymore. He's a little bit closer now. And Jesus says, so just love yourself enough to know and understand that the Father is within you, and to ask your brain, turn your will and your life over to the Father within. And don't look at it like a father in the sky. Look at it like the original thought, the original witness, the original being that is you, that is everyone. And look at it as that Father is in every single individual. It's just, do you have access to that, or do you access the God of fear? Do you access Satan? Do you access Lucifer? Do you access these gods that if you don't do this, you're going to burn in hell? If you don't do this, if you don't do that, you're going to pay. Your whole world's going to blow up in front of you. No, this is not how it is. You are the one that blows your life up. You are the one that does it. You're the one that blocks yourself. You're the one that keeps yourself from being successful, because you're afraid of failure. You're afraid that if you become successful, you'll lose that success, become a failure, and then you'll be embarrassed. Again, another fear thing, not doing something out of fear of something happening. So ask that all the fear decisions be removed from your field now, and ask that the Father guide and lead you. And that is all we have for today. We bless you. And that was Eden at the end that said, we bless you.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Okay.
I'm going to listen to that one again.
Yeah, me too. That was a lot.
Because I wasn't asleep. I only had my eyes closed.
Yeah, I think I heard a snore.
No,
But I'm just
but
kidding.
I was listening to the whole thing.
Yeah, I was kind of listening, but they kept pushing me out because I kept getting very interested in the different layers. And then Peter would pull me out and go, nope, you're not allowed to be in here.
Oh.
Because whenever I get in here, then my mind gets involved and then it blocks me.
Well, I know when you're channeling and when you're not channeling. When you're not channeling, you have a lot of ums and ahs.
Mm-hmm.
When you're channeling, it's all no ums and ahs.
Yeah, exactly.
You just rapid fire. Okay, folks, listen. Have yourself a good
Discover
Good
intuition.
Friday, Good Friday night. Have a good Saturday and Sunday, and if God has His hand in this, we'll be back here again on Monday. So enjoy your weekend, your Saturday and Sunday.
Subscribe and follow and hit like and comment in the comments so that we know you're there. And it's the 3 little dots at the top of the screen on Facebook. Just click it and hit follow. Answer 7 Speaks. And they can follow me too if they want to. We're at Intuition, Marisa Morris.
Yeah, so I guess you tap those 3 buttons. I think
Subscribe for us here
more
too.
Buttons up there though too. Can you still? Well, if you see those 3 buttons.
Yeah,
tap
3
the
little
3
dots at the
buttons,
top of the screen. Yeah, they'll
and
be
you'll
there.
get a